Hello, this is David Use, and here's another video for Genealogy Basics. And in this video, I'm addressing archiving family artifacts. So, artifacts, that is these are the physical items. It can be photos, mementos, records, everything that's you've got that is come from your family and memories of your family. And we need to take this uh, group of artifacts and start organizing them. That's really the first step. And I know that I started with about 4 or 5 big boxes of artifacts from my grandmother. And these are the steps I took eventually to archive all that, uh, all those items safely, and so that I can get back and find them again. So, pull them all together, lay them out in the big room. That's what I did. I took over a whole room in our house. Um, then start subgrouping them. And what I did was look at generally family lines. So, first of all, my grandmother's, all that collection of hers, I generally subdivided that collection and I didn't mix that collection with any other uh, items brought. My other grandmother had a similar collection, much smaller. I kept hers whole and subdivided a little bit, but not as much. But what I did is I took my grandmother's big 4 or 5 boxes, spread it out, and started grouping together. I grouped photos and letters, um, records, diaries, books, and then looked at how she had organized it a bit and maybe subdivide it further into the lines of family she was collecting and tracking. So that was sort of the big first step. And then while you're organizing this, um, you might start keeping track of problematic artifacts. These are things like, I had some oversized items that uh, were huge, and maybe only a few of them, and I wasn't going to be able to put those in a box, um, and so I had to think about how I would, archive and keep them safe. Books that were just coming apart. I had a family Bible that the binding had already fallen off, and the cover was loose and just fell right off. Um, and then my other big item was I had a lot of rolled up documents. That they were these oversized documents, and my grandmother or her family solution was to roll them up, and they were just, there was you could barely pull them apart safely, and so and I also had letters from the 1890s that had been folded for so long that they would it looked like they were going to break if I unfolded them. I could, just peek into them, but I could not scan them without damage. So anyway, I identified those that I would need a lot of extra work. Um, I also, any paper products you need to keep an eye on and maybe at least keep them together. Um, Paper, especially older paper, not so much the modern paper. Most modern paper, they have now removed all the acids that they were that are in the older paper. But these acids are created by the deterioration of the lignin. This cell walls of plants that paper's made of, and that acid then damages other paper and the paper it's coming from, and it gives it that yellow look, and it just keeps going. Um, Whenever I buy paper, new paper or even printed paper I print on, I double check that it's acid free. I mean, most are, but I still go to their websites and confirm that uh, the paper's acid free. But newspaper, even modern newspaper, I would not trust, and that is the worst of the worst newspaper. So, um, and then remove staples and paper clips, anything that could start uh, staining your documents, or, and take those out and find a different way of holding them together, or just put them together in a sleeve if you got to hold them together. At a minimum, get some of those plastic clips to hold it together. You definitely need to remove all the metal. Um, so my next step, now you've spread out all these uh, documents. Um, this is a bit iterative. You have to get to know the different type of storage options you have. But I started then grouping items within a, a group, and uh, think how I'm going to save them. So, you know, photographs. Am I going to put these photographs into individual sleeves that serve up here, like I'm talking about, uh, where you have a 8.5 by 11 type plastic sheet, and then you can put one and up to like the most you can really put is four in one sleeve. Um, or do you just buy archival quality jackets, paper jackets to save, or a box? So, different methods. I actually have some that are in these clamshell type with rings, with the plastic sheets, and that's how I save those. But if you have fabrics, they have fabric boxes. Even the file folders, you need to make sure that manila folder is acid free, and you can buy new ones, and you know keep those safe. But oops, sorry. Um, so you know you just go through everything that you uh, are looking at and start thinking about how you're going to put it together. And your cardboard box, try to eliminate that. Uh, you want to put those into acid free, lignin free storage containers if you can. Um, we're going to talk about different storage container options here in just a second. But all these items that I have put pictures here came from the Gaylord archival supplies. So, you know, again, I keep going, and what I then what even started doing was taking and laying out on the floor items that I thought would go into one box, and I took a pile. Granted, this is sort of reverse engineer. I mean, I've already stored them, and I just sort of threw them down on the ground again. But I had all these diaries. I had 13 diaries and address books that my grandmother had kept. Um, I laid them out, put them and stacked them, and then I measured how tall and how wide and long a box would have to be, and then purchased a box to to fit that. And the same with the letters. I sort of grouped them and then measured what box I would need. And anyway, then go ahead and order those boxes that you need. Uh, Granted, I left the room pretty messy for a couple weeks waiting for those boxes to arrive. So anyway, that was my approach. Um, I do want to talk about plastics. There are different types of plastics, and you need to be very careful with this. Is that uh, anything that you use, uh, plastic sleeves and envelopes, you want this chemically inert type of plastic. And the three that you're looking for is polyester, polypropylene, polyethylene. And they have a nice infographic. I will include this link in your in the description of this video. Um, they talk about it in depth, but you can use pretty much any of these. Um, and polyethylene is, I think, the most easily acquired, and they all work. And then the other thing is, these are more the sleeves, for photographs and everything else like that. You just want to shop carefully. And most of the products are marked as archival safe. And if I'm buying it from a big box store, I believe it. I have started getting away from going to like an Office Depot for that sort of thing and ordering these online. They seem to be just a little higher quality, but um, Container Store or an office supply store, if it's marked as archival quality, I and it lists these materials, I believe it and go with it. But there is this a discussion around plastic containers, and I'm not going to rewrite it here, but there is an article on the pros and cons of plastic storage containers. I have only a few plastic storage containers. All of most of my, about 90% of my boxes are uh, cardboard, uh, lignin free, acid free boxes. Um, but, those are expensive. And if you're on a budget, the next best thing would be is a plastic storage container. There's good and bad things about this. Um, the benefits is that it's waterproof and it's pest proof. That no pests are going to get in there, no bugs. And but the cons of that is it doesn't breathe. So whatever you are storing, if it has any sort of acid or chemical starts coming off of your materials, all the other items in that container are going to be living with that. Um, and around here, maybe the other con is the potential of humidity, but that not a real problem here since it's such a dry climate. So you know, make sure that these are containers that are either polyester, polypropylene, or polyethylene. So, like if you go down to Home Depot or something like this, um, you can pick up something. I would be hesitant. I would at least go with the container store and make sure that you research, make sure the contents are this type. So, where do you go buy all this stuff? Um, I'll start at the most expensive and the most respected. This is Gaylord Archival. This is a source where museums go. They're trying to preserve for the 100 years, um, and uh, they're the top of the line. They have special chemical processes made in making all the containers that make them much more stable and also help absorb some of the bad gases that might come off of your uh, photos and papers and such. Sort of a bit more affordable. Maybe not quite as intensely made, yeah, but it's still considered professional quality archiving is archival methods. Um, so a little bit more affordable. Um, my next stop is Container Store. Uh, this has a lot fewer product choices. I mean, you can't believe all the different items under in Gaylord and Archival. I got from Gaylord a special kit just specifically for archiving Bibles. Um, the big family Bible. Um, you know, they have sleeves specially made for comic books. Uh, It's very specific, huge inventories. Container stores, of course, archiving is not their uh, big focus, but they do have products for archive. So about a quarter of my boxes in my archive, my family archive, are from the Container Store. But the big thing there, way more affordable prices are way much lower. And then maybe the last stop is Office Depot. This is the lowest price, but extremely few archiving products. Maybe you can find some sleeves for documents and maybe some photos. Even though, like I said before, I would at least go with the Container Store. Um, Even though lately I've been buying my photo sleeves from archival methods. So just be careful when you shop. Look for those labels that it's archival safe. And then maybe the last step um, is make sure that you catalog each box. Create I create a little code here, and then I have a spreadsheet that I then put the code, the description, a list of contents in there. I can then search that spreadsheet when I want to go find stuff. But this is my closet here with my family collection. A little messy there, but make sure you clearly label each box. And if you have a system, then you can use that uh, labeling system in your citation when you want to cite that item. For instance, when I cite the diaries from my grandmother, I'll have that in the citation, the box number, and that it's the best Wilder uh, collection of diaries. And so, so there you go. Now you've got everything boxed up. Now, where do you put it? So you want to worry about a few things in your collection here. So humidity is your biggest enemy. Um, Look, we're not. None of us are going to have rooms that are uh, controlled, have humidity control and everything. And the best humidity range is 30 to 50%. Um, but here where we live, it's not unusual to get down to 1%. The problem with the humidity getting really low is that the your papers become brittle. So you just do the best you can. Um, when I was living in Houston, uh, it was the other. It was too high of humidity that really was a concern. But you could get close to the 30 to 50% if you kept your collection inside the house and uh, you know keep it in a location that isn't going to be you know subject to real extreme temperatures. So temperature is the other thing. If you could do it, you always keep it at 70 degrees 24/7. Well, you can't do that. The big high temperatures start causing the chemical to break down in your different products. Also gets the insects going, and especially in humid locations, you get mold and mildew. And then swinging the temperature stresses Um, Light, you want to keep that in the dark place. Again, the boxes help, but if you have a lot of plastic containers that light can go right through the plastic, then you need to make sure that that is stored in a location where it's dark most of the time. Air pollution is always an issue. You really can't control that. Um, but then pests. So you want to keep and make sure and double check your collection periodically. Open up everything and make sure there's no insects or no mice or anything have gotten in, started nibbling on the boxes. So be careful with that. I will put this link down in here, but this is a whole bunch of information about uh, the quality of the environmental control. So, you know, get those boxes, get the plastic container if you can't afford uh, the special archival boxes. Find a closet inside the house, but the best location is a closet inside the house and away from the exterior wall because the exterior walls have a lot more temperature variation. Um, I found a closet that is deep inside of the house, wasn't very big, and I fit 90% of my collection all in that one closet. Um, do not store this in a location that's real humid. So no storing near the bath, no storing in the laundry. And I will admit, while I was in one location, we were moving along with my job. I had not opened these boxes yet, and they got stored in the laundry room for a few years. They survived, but it was not optimal. Um, anyway, try to keep, you know, just do the best you can. You know, we're not going to be able to afford to have, you know, specific temperature and climate controls for these collections, but you can mitigate and reduce the risk by doing a few steps like this, like choosing your closet well. Okay, at this point, if you don't have any rolled or folded documents, you don't need to listen to the next section here. And if you're not feeling comfortable doing this process, but I will go through the steps I took for flattening my document. And this is not for the faint of heart. If you're not comfortable doing this, find a different way to store it or have professional flatten the documents for you. But I will go through this, but the key to flattening documents is to be patient. Do not rush the flattening. Do not. I have an example that I don't have a picture of it here, but I rushed the flattening process, one of the first ones I worked on. And when I put it down under a plexiglass piece to flatten it, I thought I had it relaxed enough, but when I pressed down on it, it like every 6 inches, or not six, about every 3 inches, um, it like folded and it went from a rolled up document and now it's flat, but it's like undulates. It curves slightly to a fold and then curves slightly to another fold. And there's about on this real large document, there's like 10 uh, folds, noticeable folds, and I blew it. So I changed the process, and so maybe you take on your first run uh, trying this. You do a document that you don't, maybe you have a rolled up document that or a rolled up map is maybe not very valuable, and that's something to try this out on first. Make sure you start being comfortable with. But anyway, be very careful with fragile documents, and do not do this on any document where the ink could easily run. Okay, you're going to have to use judgment on this, but if there's some of the old-fashioned ink, you really need a professional to flatten or those type of documents, because our this home process um, introduces some moisture um, through humidity, and it could cause ink to run if you're not careful. But what you need is some large excuse me, uh, plexiglass sheets. You need a little thicker. Mine is, I think, half-inch thick, so it's really rigid. And that's a big thing. It needs to be rigid, and it needs to be larger than the largest document that you're trying to flatten. If it's if this plexiglass is not available, um, just getting a real flat board, um, clean board that you can get at lumber stores. You get this, furniture quality board that's been sanded down very smooth, and it's very clean. Make sure you wipe it down and clean it up before you use it. But that would be a backup option. And then the last option really would be a plate of glass. The glass is just you just worry about it breaking. Um, so you need also sheets of uh, spun polyester. You could see there in the slide, Polytex, Cerex, or Remay. The Remay sheets, I'll include this in the description, but here's the links to this product, and so you know what that is. Um, Blotter paper. Uh, you need blotter paper to help absorb the water once you've introduced humidity, or this felt. Um, and you can get undyed felt at some good fabric stores. Um, but then you need things to add weight. Once you put these papers underneath the board, you're going to put books or something else heavy on top to help the flatten process. I have a whole bunch of books and reference books that I pull off the shelf to use to do this. And I will also include this link down here for um, my main reference on how to do this flat. So, again, be patient and don't do this on fragile documents or items with where you have that risk of ink running. Um, so, what I have found is that you might have to go through this process a few times um, than to, what I'm talking about is introducing moisture into the document. So, what I do is I take a humidifier, make sure I use distilled water in the humidifier so you're not introducing any minerals into the air. Make sure it's a clean humidifier. Put it into a small bathroom and raise the humidity to about 80-85%. I set the control to like 80-85% on the humidifier. Let it go in there. And it gets pretty steamy in there. And I then put some towels out and lay out my sheets of documents. And, they could be folded. And then I just turn them over so that the folds are up and so they somewhat stay open. But you're not flattening at this point. All you're trying to do is introduce moisture back into the paper. You don't want to and why I use some towels is you don't want it to touch any hard surface because moisture just could start collecting there. A towel insulates your paper from that, and you know a white towel is best because you don't want any of the dye coming off the towel into your document. And then for rolled documents, I have I find various plastic cylinders. You know, you might start with a carb or you know like a cardboard tube. I guess it's not plastic, but I use one of these Lowe's buckets, um, a clean garbage can. Again, different sizes. And what I do is put the document around on the outside, try to open it up, and I make sure that that it has, you know, some cloth in between there. But it's again to introduce the moisture. Um, yeah, when I was in Houston, I would just go out in the morning and put it out on the porch because it was like 80, 85% humidity outside. But I don't recommend that. Um, then you just leave in the room, wait for it. You know, might leave it in the room for half an hour, and you just check the documents, and you come back in, and you just feel the document. You can tell that it started picking up moisture and is becoming a little more flexible. Okay, and you know, I just then bring them out and lightly lay them out with some of these other things, with maybe no weight or very little weight at the beginning. And you could have to go back and forth, especially the rolled documents. I would, uh, you know, lay them out, you know, put everything in, get them moist, get them humid, and then um, let them dry around the cylinders. And then I would check to see that it's loosened. And then I would bring out a larger, you know, start with the cardboard tube, then move up to the Lowe's bucket, you know, start getting bigger and start to increase the size of the diameter of that pipe before I did my final flat. So it took me several days to work with these roll documents. Anyway, eventually you get to going to a hard surface, and what you do is you put down this blotter paper, then the spun polyester, then um, whatever document, and then you sandwich that in with spun polyester, and then the blotter paper, and then the plexiglass board on it, and then wait. Now, if you had multiple documents, I actually would sandwich this together. That I had blotter paper, polyester, document, spun polyester, blotter paper, and then go back to maybe another sheet of blotter paper, then spun polyester sheet, and I put like 3 layers, 4 layers. Then I put that underneath the weight, and then you leave it in place. And you have to have patience and just don't touch them. Don't fiddle with them. Don't peek. Leave them there for 3 days, maybe the first time. Make sure that they really have flattened, and then you open it up. And there's a good chance that if it's been tightly folded, this will not have done the job. They will start folding up again. And you just take it back. You get that humidity, that bathroom real humid again, bring it back in, repeat the process. Anyway, you can see you just have to keep doing this. If you're not comfortable doing this, do not do it. Either keep them stored rolled or get a professional to flatten the documents for you. Anyway, thank you very much, and I hope this helps you work on and properly preserve your family art, your family artifacts. Thank you.